Welcome to the Instagram Stories for Saturday, July 12th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill, and this is the weekend edition of the show. Today, we're going to dive into some YouTube news. There's been a rumor circulating that YouTube has announced it will only pay creators who use their real voice and produce original content. That is patently false. Rene Ritchie from the YouTube Creator Insider team has some updates, and I will be sharing them with you. Additionally, Ashley Coffey and I discuss some AI news that you need to know, talking about Meta's investment of $3.5 billion in an eyewear maker to support their AI glasses, and OpenAI working on a browser to challenge Google Chrome. All of that and more on today's episode, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's start with the YouTube news. I have seen a lot of social media experts recently sharing an announcement from YouTube, which is not actually factual. People have been saying that YouTube has announced it will only pay creators who use their real voice and produce original content starting July 15th, making reused videos, copied content, low-effort uploads, and fully AI-generated videos no longer eligible for monetization. This is patently false. Do not put any credence in this. Just to assure you that this is not in fact the case, the YouTube Creator Insider Liaison, Rene Ritchie, has made not one, but two videos explaining that this is not true at all. Here are the clips.
If you're seeing posts about a July 2025 update to the YouTube Partner Program monetization policies, and you're concerned it'll affect your reaction or clips or other type of channel, well, I'm Rene Ritchie. I'm a creator who works inside YouTube, and here's the deal. This is a minor update to YouTube's long-standing YPP policies to help better identify when content is mass-produced or repetitive. This type of content has already been ineligible for monetization for years, and is content viewers often consider spam. That's it. That's all.
But apparently people were still confused. Here is Rene Ritchie explaining this topic in even greater detail, promising this is not the case.
Wow, but there has been some confusion around the minor YouTube Partner Program update coming July 15, 2025. I'm Rene Ritchie, a longtime creator now working inside YouTube. Let's answer some of your most frequent questions and clear this all up. So what's changing? Exactly. Mainly, repetitious content is being renamed inauthentic content. This is to clarify that the policy includes content that's mass-produced or repetitive, which is content viewers often consider spam. This content has always been ineligible for monetization, as we've always required content to be original and authentic for YPP. This is just meant to better identify that. Does this relate to reused content? No. There are no changes to YouTube's reused content policies on clips, compilations, reaction content. All of this can continue to be monetized if you've added significant original commentary, modifications, or educational or entertainment value to the original video. What about AI content? YouTube welcomes creators using AI tools to enhance storytelling, and channels that use AI in their content remain eligible for monetization. YouTube provides AI tools to creators, including auto-dubbing, dream screen, and more. All channels do have to follow YouTube's monetization policies, and creators are required to disclose when their realistic content is altered or synthetic. And that's true regardless of how the content is created. Can you give some examples of what is considered mass-produced content? Sure thing. Channels that upload narrated stories with only superficial differences between them. Channels that upload slideshows that all have the same narration. Basically, content that viewers often consider to be spam. That's it.
Okay, so there you go. If you want to use AI to make videos and you want to monetize those videos on YouTube, by all means, go ahead. That is totally fine. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ashley Coffey and I are going to dive into some AI news, starting with Meta and their purchase of an investment inside an eyewear company for their AI glasses. Stick around. Of the show, Ashley Coffey and myself have been working on a new AI podcast called AI News You Should Know About. Here is a clip of us talking about some recent Meta AI news and an investment that the company has made.
First up, Meta invests $3.5 billion in the world's largest eyewear maker and AI glasses push. This isn't a new partnership or next phase. Think of Google Glass, a little ahead of its time. Meta and Luxottica have spent years co-developing AI-enabled smart glasses that combine design credibility with tech capability. The Ray-Ban Meta models already offer real-time AI features like image captioning and voice-assessed stock updates, with Oakley-branded variants also hitting the market as of recent. The Oakley-branded variants have an increased battery life and an increased camera megapixels. And analysts view the deal as another sign that Meta is serious about carving out a long-term position in the wearable AI market. And in Meta's eyes, smart glasses could finally give it something that it's lacked: a native hardware platform that bypasses phones and puts ecosystems front and center. This is huge. Luxottica owns Meta Ray-Ban. They own Oakley. They also own, I believe, they own Prada. I think they own Prada and Celine as well. And I know that they also announced a partnership with Prada, so they're entering the luxury market. This is really pivotal for them and a very smart move, obviously. Smart glasses are here to stay. I love mine. They're very useful, and it creates less distance between myself and the person that I'm talking to. But I want to get your thoughts, Daniel, because I know you were a big spectacles fan back in the day when Snapchat first came out with those little, spectacles that are nowhere near where we're at now. But what are your thoughts?
I think this is a really smart play on the part of Meta because they're preparing, right? They're investing in areas where they think this is going, and rightfully so. If they don't need a phone in the equation and they can own the whole experience, just like you said, if they can own the ecosystem, that is a win for them. They don't have to answer to anyone. They don't have to deal with anyone else's rules. They own the whole thing. And that makes a lot of sense. Meta making a smart play here by owning some piece of Luxottica. I absolutely think that's the right move for them.
Agreed. I will say on the flip side, the downside to owning everything is lack of playing nice with other things. There are a lot of really cool pieces of technology that I've seen and I've tested, like gesture control and some other interesting features, only if Meta would play nice with others. So that's the only downside, is with that closed garden, it does make a closed ecosystem, but who knows, that might change. All right. Next up is a big one. Jack Dorsey, the man who created what we used to call Twitter, co-founded. He launched a WhatsApp messaging rival called BitChat, built on Bluetooth. So let's just dive into this. This peer-to-peer messaging app works entirely over Bluetooth connection, which means your chats are encrypted, ephemeral, and stored on only the device, with no accounts, phone numbers, or servers involved. So when I mean ephemeral, that means just like very fleeting, not staying. It's definitely protected. The app is now live in beta on Test Flight. If you're not familiar with Test Flight, it's what you can download to be able to download apps from the App Store that are not available yet for iOS. And there's future updates set to add Wi-Fi Direct for faster long-range communication. This just happened over the weekend, and it's a big update. I haven't seen anything like this innovative in a while. And I have a friend, actually, we have a mutual friend, Jane Manchun Wong. So I've been following her for a long time because of your show. And she also had a comment on this as well, and said that it's cool, but it's anything new because they used a similar technology during the Hong Kong riots. And that's where she's from. So I thought that was interesting, and that helped to kind of bring a more global perspective of where we're at, where we're headed. So I'll pause there. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
So at first, I don't think I quite grasped what this was for. If you understand the concept of Bluetooth doesn't work that far. You might get 30 meters if you're fortunate and there's nothing blocking or any kind of interference. So in what scenario would you need to communicate with someone who is close to you, but not close enough that you can have a face-to-face conversation, right? And that is not too many applications I could think of. I've certainly been to concerts where there are so many people that the cell phone networks are overloaded, and I want to get in touch with somebody who went to the bathroom or something. That makes sense. That kind of application. Or the fact that it's ephemeral, if it's a situation where there's a protest, like you said, the Hong Kong riots, you don't want the government seeing what you're sending, but you want to communicate in a public square or something like that, yes, it makes sense. I was struggling to really think of other applications. And I think calling it a WhatsApp messaging rival is a bit confusing because WhatsApp, you can message anyone on the planet at any time, anywhere. Bluetooth is certainly not that. So I think it's a little bit confusing the way that was branded, but I do think there are applications for this. I just can't think of what some of those might be.
I like that you mentioned that. Thank you. Let's get a bit technical here so that it provides a little bit more clarification. So you're right. So on Bluetooth, let's talk about that. So the whole functionality of this Bluetooth app is built on bridge devices. So bridge devices meaning that it connects overlapping clusters, expanding a mesh network across a greater distance than what is typically capable with like a single Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth device. So what's happening is it's enabling as movers use through physical spaces, their phones form local Bluetooth clusters and pass messages from device to device, allowing them to reach peers beyond the standard range, even without Wi-Fi or cell service. So like most everyone has their Bluetooth turned on. So it's just hopping on that Bluetooth. It's just think of signals, which if, by the way, Hedy Lamarr, she was a Hollywood starlet that is responsible for some signal hopping technology. So without her, we wouldn't be here where we are today. So definitely this is an interesting point in time, and especially in US history for technology and for messaging-based apps. In this world that we're living in, it's wild.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I appreciate your explanation of Bluetooth and how it would work in this specific case. So if I was in a place and you were 29 meters away, we would be able to communicate. And even if you and I didn't know each other, it could take what message I sent and pass it on to somebody else who's another 29 meters away, right? Like it's making hops and connecting different people. That's the concept you're explaining, right?
Correct. But think of it this way. Think of it as there are going to be many areas where you're not even going to have a hop. It's just going to be a smooth transfer.
Right.
So it depends on where I'm at. It's more a sense of how closely connected to other people are you to Bluetooth and what's my proximity to that group as well. So I guess, yeah, yes and no. It's really a kind of a case by case basis, but generally Bluetooth speaking, I'm trying to help people get out of the traditional ways of thinking and know that some of these technologies are capable of doing different things in a different way that go beyond our traditional understanding.
Now that you've said that, which makes a lot of sense, it also explains why he picked the name BitChat, because that's similar to BitTorrent, and how that worked historically was if you were sharing a file, it would take a little bit of that file from everyone who had it and put it together. And it was creating sort of a mesh network in that way. It's not a perfect description of what I'm doing, but I understand your point. My thought that I come back to though is if there's nobody around me who has Bluetooth on and or this app, that message is not going to be able to reach anyone else. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So that is one limitation, but you're trading that limitation for security, for anonymity, for the ability to have these messages encrypted without a Meta from, through WhatsApp or any other company having the opportunity to read those. So I do think that is a key differentiator in this kind of technology.
For sure. And you think about it in largely populated areas, it's almost a guarantee that your message is going to reach another person. Like if you think about the concentrated population of Hong Kong, that's a perfect use case for it. Heavy concentration of people, not too geographically far apart, win scenario for the technology. It's also what I like to, if you're familiar with ad hoc networks, that's also Yes. Not the same, but similar in terms of concept. And I'll see where this goes. I'm going to download it via test flight and see how it works. Daniel, if you would like to test it as well, we can be friends on BitChat. But yeah, looking forward to sharing a little bit of an update of what that looks like in the future.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about OpenAI releasing a web browser to challenge Google Chrome. Stick around. Welcome back. Continuing with our next story, OpenAI to release a web browser to challenge Google Chrome. So this is really interesting. If you've been using Chrome for a long time, or maybe there's another browser that you're invested in, there's going to be potentially here a new player. And OpenAI coming out of the gate in just the past couple of years to establish themselves as a tech giant has been fascinating to watch. And then the question is, well, where do they go from here, right? We all use ChatGPT either as an app or we go to the website, but why? Why do we have to use Google Chrome or Safari or Firefox or whatever to access this? Shouldn't everything be integrated? And if it was integrated, if OpenAI has a browser, then ChatGPT not only could be built in, but also could automate the tasks that it sees you doing on a regular basis. Now, of course, there's going to be trade-offs there. Now, OpenAI has access to way more of your data, but you're already giving that data to Google through Chrome or whatever other browser you choose to use. Ashley, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I'm so glad that you picked one of these as your story, because I've been watching this happen from afar. And for those not familiar, Google was going through an antitrust lawsuit and potentially was going to be forced to divest, i.e. Chrome was going to need to divest from Google. I'm not sure where that stands. I need to look at the update. I think we're still in perpetual motion. But the reason why that's so important and the reason why people were watching it so closely is because OpenAI was in position to buy it if and when it becomes available. And if you think about that, so much data, that's additional data to work with, and that puts them in a place to not dominate, but actually be a legitimate competitor to these other browsers that are out there in the market. And I really like that they are just positioning themselves to get ready for if and when. And if it doesn't happen, then they'll be positioned to be a strong competitor for search. But I do wonder, like with this happening, how much is that going to impact our search results? Because we already know just the intricacies of search results. So I hope that if OpenAI were to do this, they would be neutral in how they choose the search results, if that makes sense.
Well, you could, I'm sure, continue to Google things if you wanted, right? Or what other search engine you choose to use. But to your point, if they controlled the whole flow from start to finish, you might not agree with every way that they are controlling that flow. So it makes sense that there are options. One thing I want to point out is that Google Chrome has an open browser version. The source code is something called Chromium, and that's what Google Chrome is built on top of. And OpenAI's browser is going to be built on top of that as well. So at the core, Google is still invested in a certain way. I can't speak to too much of how much Google Chrome controls Chromium, but that's the source code for the browser, Google Chrome, and what OpenAI is doing. So there's a bit of conflict there to a certain extent.
Interesting that you said that, because my browser, I use Safari and I use Sidekick, which is built on Chrome's open source framework, Chromium. So it's basically like a wrapper that's put on top of Chrome that is customized based on what you want to do. And mine has like just different integrations, and it suspends tab usage, which is nice. But because it's built on the open source Chrome framework, it's great, but it's a little bit of a risk there. So I do make sure it's constantly up to date, and I don't check my bank account on that specific browser. I go to my Safari. But so I'm interested to see what that wrapper would look like and how it would be so different from what I'm currently using that has ChatGPT already integrated within it as a third party.
Well, we should know in the coming weeks. That's when this browser is supposed to launch.
Awesome.
That's it for our AI news that you should know about this week. You can find us on social media to connect. We'd love to hear what you think of the show and how we can make it better. You can find me at Daniel Hill Media on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And thanks for listening to today's episode of AI news that you should know about. Want more tech talk? You can find me on Instagram at Ashley R. Coffey 89. And you can find my podcast called Coffee and Code on Apple Music, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts if you want to hear from interviews of experts, innovators in the tech space. But if you're curious about taking the next step of implementing AI in your business, or really just have no idea where to start, reach out. Coffee and Consult specializes in helping small to medium-sized businesses leverage technology for efficiency and profitability. Go ahead and reach out to us at Ashley@Coffee and Consult.
Thank you so much for listening, and come back next week for more AI news you should know about.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.